questions directly because we figured that out. And since we're a small crowd, we can make that happen. And I think that's really cool is to get to have a little bit of human interaction while we are still stuck here at home for lockdown 2, Electric Boogaloo. Anyways, most of y'all have seen the schedule. I don't have to talk about the other stuff that's coming up, but we have more Q&As. And we'll have podcast recording. Going to watch Grizzly. Or no, we're not going to watch Grizzly. We're going to talk about Grizzly, but then we're going to watch Elves, which has Dan Haggerty. So Saturday night is going to be a Grizzly night. And of course, we'll be talking with Frank and Trace, Q&A with them tomorrow, actually on Christmas Day. It is Christmas, so Merry Christmas, everybody. Christmas Eve, Santa is on his way, and he is here now. Well, he's here to deliver Jackie to us. So, Jackie, if you want to go ahead and meet the folks. I don't know. Hello, Jackie.
Hi. Hello. I'm in my, I've got my Monos gear on.
Yes, and those are available for sale. Is that correct?
Yes, but I'm an artist, so I have to go look at my Etsy site. I'm just terrible at the.
You're fine. You're fine, Jackie. If you are interested, Jackie does have an Etsy. I'll get the link and put it down in the chat. And so, if you can't get a hold of Jackie, shout out to me, send me an email and I'll reach out to Jackie. And yeah, she had made some Manos scarves, hoodies. Also, of course, there is, the book. That you'll be reading from today, and some other art that Jackie does. She's an amazing painter and artist, and turns I love it when you take the old doors and paint them and make them. I love your nautical theme stuff. So I'll get that link, throw it in the chat. But without further ado, Jackie, I would like you to go ahead and take over and read from your book for us, please.
Okay. Yeah, it's funny. I've been feeling the master around lately. It's like just the way things are happening right now seems like there's a little extra help. But so yesterday when I thought, what am I going to read? I just opened the book like some people do in a religious manner, I suppose. And I just turned on to the perfect chapter. So I'm going to read from my book, Growing Up with Monos, The Hands of Fate, subtitle, How I Was the Child Star of the Worst Movie Ever Made and Lived to Tell the Story. And I'll read chapter 9. This is the big premiere. Once Monos was filmed, dubbed, edited, and otherwise in the can, everyone but Hal Warren was done with it until the premiere. Most tasks had been completed after the long drive to Dallas for the voice dubbing in June, and others were done after the last scene was filmed several weeks earlier. Hal continued to seek funding after the film was completed as a possible way to get on top of all he had promised to so many. Bob Guidry's wife, Pat, recalled one such fundraising party she attended in a well-appointed home with huge windows. Canapes were served and wine was flowing. Hal, the confident, smiling filmmaker, made his way around the room, shaking hands and seeking out benefactors to sign up for the shares of his movie. Hal loved the spotlight and was known as a bit of a comedian among his peers. Pat remembers Hal making a show of giving a coin to a rabbi to pray that his newborn son Joe would not go into the priesthood. Hal hosted other fundraisers, including a lavish catered buffet at his insurance office, where food and drink flowed freely in hopes of loosening a few purse strings. On that occasion, as he went through the buffet line, Hal stopped at a large ham and began cutting slices and loading them on his plate, proclaiming loudly and repeatedly how wonderful the beef was. Young Benton Jennings, son of the Mono's sheriff, was standing nearby. And knowing how to be Jewish, he started to say something about the beef actually being ham. But before he could open his mouth to speak, his mom caught his eye and shushed him, just in case Hal actually thought it was beef or was just pretending to think it was to justify having some. At the end of the day, all of Hal's pavement pounding and glad handling had netted him around $19,000 for his project. $144,000 in 2015 dollars. It was an impressive amount for a first-time independent filmmaker, especially since so many assets of time, talent, and tangible goods were given freely. The premiere was tentatively scheduled for months later in November, advertised as a charitable benefit in which a portion of the takings would be donated to the Cerebral Palsy Fund. The idea was, of course, that partnering with a well-recognized charitable organization would attract a wider audience to the event and garner more support going forward. Hal had done his work to prepare for this special evening, from the media to the autograph hounds. Hal had studied how it was done in Hollywood and New York and knew that reaping recognition and press with a little name dropping and a little charitable giving would help him achieve his end goal. It's too bad that Diane had not been crowned Miss El Paso, but at least John Reynolds' death had managed to stay off of the public radar. In the weeks before the big night, Hal promoted the film any way he could around town. For Halloween week, he put the costumes and props on display at Luby's Cafeteria on Mesa Street, a popular El Paso restaurant. On October 31st, the El Paso Herald-Post observed that producers have hinted that some Hollywood stars and executives are expected to be at the premiere. The same article promised that Capitol Records was set to record Forgetting You as soon as the right singer could be found. Joe Emerson, owner of Emerson Film Enterprises, flew out to El Paso from California to sign Hal's project with his company for theatrical distribution, and there was press about that too. Emerson was known for distributing exploitation and offbeat films such as The Atomic Brain, 1963, and a German version of Hamlet dubbed in English, 1960, both of which got the MSTie 3K treatment years later. Joe Emerson apparently saw Manos as a natural addition to his company roster. Hal had invited everyone who was anyone to the premiere. He sent tickets to Mike Sullivan, El Paso's real sheriff, and Mayor Judson F. Williams, who both attended. Hal sent tickets to all the aldermen, state legislators, and congressmen, who graciously declined with best wishes and congratulations for bringing the film industry to the El Paso area. And the press got tickets too. I have many memories of that day and evening, as the preparation and celebration was one of the most significant events to date in my short 7 years. Although we were not wealthy people by most American standards, my mother knew how to make us shine. And as a properly raised Texas lady, she made sure we did. Memories. Mom, as instructed by her practical and creative soul, made our dresses. Hers was a beautiful custom-fitted sapphire blue satin floor-length evening gown. Knowing Mom, she had either found the fabric at deep discount or took another dress she found at a thrift shop and refashioned it to her specifications. She finished it off with black elbow-length opera gloves, high heels, and clip-on earrings. My dress was a white, ethereal creation, embellished with lace all down the front. an embroidered and scalloped collar, a pink satin bow, and lots of tulle petticoats to make the skirt billow out. Mom had made my dress from one of her own that she had saved from a special high school dance. She told me about it as her eyes sparkled with nostalgia and her fingers flew over the fabric, transforming it into a gown fit for a fairy princess. I believed in magic and began to feel the part. The day of the premiere, Mom took me for the first and last time to a beauty parlor. The frugal woman that she was dictated that my hair would only be cut at home by her, no matter how unqualified the barber. As capable as she was in many respects, no one can do everything well, and hair cutting did not fall within her success range. Mom believed she could do just about anything she set her mind to, and she was mostly right, a characteristic that I've inherited, for better or worse. On this most auspicious occasion, however, she chose to go with the beauty parlor. In my young mind, it seemed we were there all day, although in reality, I'm sure it was only for a couple of hours. We were washed, cut, and styled. I needed several phone books under my bottom for my head to reach the giant hair drying machine, and I recall the big plastic rollers painfully pulling my scalp where the dryer burned my ears. As challenging an ordeal that experience was for a fidgety child, once done, I was more than ready for the main event. Finally, the big night arrived. All of Hal's hard work schmoozing everyone who was anyone in El Paso had paid off. The premiere of Manos the Hands of Fate at the historic Capri Theater in downtown El Paso was playing to an 860-seat house packed to the balcony on November 15th, 1966. 1 month and 1 day since John Reynolds' suicide. Searchlights scanned the skies in front of the theater. Cast and crew walked the red carpet past a smiling crowd into the theater after stepping from a 1955 black Cadillac limousine. Fans pushed forward, begging for autographs. Naturally, Hal had choreographed the simulation of Hollywood glitz in typical Hal fashion. That is, on the cheap. He borrowed the big advertising searchlights from a friend who owned a local car dealership. These were placed strategically on the sidewalk in front of the theater, set to scan the open skies, and causing many to wonder what great event was taking place downtown. The limo was funded from the remaining budget at a probable discount, with the owner assured of future business transporting the VIPs who would surely flock to the area. With only one limo available to transport the entire cast and crew, and the need to make our arrival a production in itself, Hal directed us all to gather a block over and wait in the dark alley behind the Cortez Hotel, as though we were backstage in the wings waiting for our big entrance. The limo would pull up, a group or family unit would get in and be driven around the block to the red carpet that began at the theater entrance and rolled out to the sidewalk. We would step out to the flash of cameras, a small crowd of elegantly dressed attendees, well-wishers, and autograph seekers bobbing in and out, waving pens, paper, and pencils. The autograph hounds were fake, too. To portray fans, Hal had hired several destitute street kids not much older than me, who by day sold chiclets, gum, or washed windshields in traffic. Considering it was 1966 and we were less than 2 miles from the Mexican border, it's most certain that these kids did not speak English, had never seen a film, or even been inside of a theater. And I'm pretty sure the boys had no idea who we were supposed to be. William Bryan Jennings came that evening with his family, except for his oldest son, Brian, who was away at college. His wife, his wife Polly, teenage daughter Mary Jean, and his youngest son Benton, then 11, stepped from the limo dressed to the nines, moving past the young autograph hounds as they thrust pencils and pads of paper to anyone exiting the limo. As the Jennings family walked the red carpet, Bill was congratulated heartily by his friends and peers and greeted by the El Paso dignitaries, the mayor and Sheriff Mike Sullivan, who presented him with a real El Paso sheriff badge. The women who played the wives all appeared in white or light pink evening gowns and gloves and sat in a group, possibly for safety and protection. Everyone had invited friends and family to share in this exciting life event. Diane Marie, looking gorgeous in her cream gown and her mother's mink stole, had arrived with her family. She and her brother sat next to us while her parents sat right behind her, looking proud of their daughter, the movie star. As for myself, I was busy soaking it all up and trying not to miss anything I wanted to remember. Not even the fleeting thought of, doesn't anyone notice that it's the same car and driver going around the block picking up people and dropping them off, could spoil this evening for me. I was in a movie with my dad, who looked quite dapper in a rented tuxedo, his hair combed back with real cream, a little dab of booyah, and his mustache carefully trimmed. It was truly wondrous and spectacular to one so young, and I acted the part of a perfect little lady as we made our way in and found our seats. The lights went down and the audience settled into a quiet expectation. First, the trailers of coming attractions, a cartoon, and a 20-minute true life nature adventure set in the Antarctic. And then, Manos the Hands of Fate for the very first time on a big screen anywhere. It was all a beautiful illusion until the movie began. Up to this point, we all had only seen a few unedited scenes at Hal's house on his home projector, so none of us really knew what to expect. 8 minutes from the start of the film, with nothing happening on the screen but driving and jazz music, it was clear to the audience and to us that our collective world had already begun to show cracks. I mostly recall sitting with rapt attention, waiting to see myself on the big screen. And finally, there I was. I was fascinated. And then the mouth on the screen opened and some strange voice came out. My body went numb. My face got hot and I burst into tears. No one had bothered to tell the little kid that the voices had been dubbed. It was humiliating and devastating, and I was completely unaware of the extreme discomfort the rest of my family and cast members were experiencing. Sitting between my mother and her brother, oh, sitting between my mother and her brother, Diane realized as quickly as the rest of this that this was not what we had hoped for, and instantly came down with a severe case of giggles. She just couldn't stop. And her mother, who was sitting with her dad directly behind her, started poking her in the back while whispering furiously, "Stop laughing! This isn't funny." Diane, however, thought it was hilarious, and she knew that she at least would be leaving town as soon as she got her VW van back on the road, putting the entire debacle behind her forever. There were others who were not enjoying themselves as much as Diane. Bob Guidry was a public figure at Channel 4 as a sportscaster and the news director, and he knew he wouldn't escape this unscathed. He had been pretty nervous all day. Since he'd been there with Hal for the all-night initial rough editing session at the news station, he knew the limits to the magic of the lab that Hal had been going on about all summer. In retrospect, he knew there was much more that could have made it better, but he also knew that they had done their best with what they had. He also knew that he'd had no control over what happened in the lab after the film left his hands. Bob and his wife Pat had arrived in the back alley to join the others and wait their turn for the limo ride before walking the gauntlet into the theater. They found seats off on the side aisle, not too close and not too far back, and not too obvious in case things didn't go well. Their greatest fears were realized the moment the giggles, groans, and catcalls began. Everything melded together as they sunk lower in their seats, looking for an opportunity to sneak into the outside fresh air and beyond the revolving searchlights that still heralded the great event. Dad later described his viewpoint of those moments. We were sitting about 5th row center, a spot Dad had chosen so that we could see the whole screen. In spite of his feelings of apprehension, he looked around and he saw enough friends and supporters among the audience to slightly ease his nerves. How bad could it be? Really? Then the movie began. Driving. So much driving. He became aware of the whispers around him. The dialogue on screen began. The whispers turned to giggles and incredulous snorts. He began to focus only on the screen, entertaining a fantasy of escape. He visualized his family, the three of us, metamorphosizing into snakes. He would, as patriarch reptile, slide beneath the seats and pull Mom and me from the theater and disappear into the dark. Sadly, we were trapped and forced to either stay or draw even more attention by getting up to leave. When the end finally flashed across the screen, we left as quickly as possible, making our way back to our car with hopes it could all be put behind us sooner rather than later. Bill Jennings and his wife were so embarrassed that they got up and left the theater even before the lights came up. Benton Jennings, 11 at the time, remembers it this way. A lot of the premiere is a blur, but I remember my father being presented an honorary El Paso County Sheriff badge, which I still have, before the film, and then wondering why we were all getting up and rushing out of the theater at the end before the lights even came up. And yet, in spite of everything, Bob Guidry had this to say in a 1996 article by Richard Brandt in Mimosa magazine. You have to give Hal credit. If you had any idea, even in Hollywood, how difficult it is to let alone get a film made, but to get it finished and get it through post-production and then to get it distributed, well, what he did was something of a miracle. Even so, Bob and Bernie escaped, leaving friends and families to fend for themselves while they went to a bar for a premature after-party drink or two. The official cast party was held at the house of Bernie's mother, where Bob, Bernie, Hal, and a few other friends and family showed up. Sherry Proctor, one of the master's wives, doesn't remember the party and thinks that the wives weren't even invited. I know my family didn't go, and the Jennings most certainly skipped it. Bill Jennings was heard to say, "After all, we weren't trying for an Academy Award, but it's doubtful anyone realized it would be quite this bad. Was the party an event of jesting, drinking to oblivion, commiseration? No one's left to say now, but I'm fairly certain that everyone involved, with the possible exception of Hal Warren, believed this to be the end of Manos the Hands of Fate. The next day, the El Paso Herald printed the first critical review of Manos in a Betty Pierce article that generously stated, "For an amateur production, the color came out very well." She helpfully went on to say, however, and perhaps by scrapping the soundtrack and running with subtitles or dubbing it in Esperanto, it could be promoted as a foreign art film of some sort or other. Manos was obviously so bad that reviewers were unwilling to say what they truly thought. Many of them would have known and respected some of the cast, and Manos was just too easy a target among the small and closely knit community of supporters of the arts. Joan Quorm, the El Paso critic who had and would continue to write so many glowing articles about the talent of Tom Naiman, remained graciously silent. And just as the original movie poster suggested, the film truly was horrifying, but in a much more different way than Hal Warren intended. And the horrified and humiliated participants were anxious to close this chapter of each of their lives forever. But forever was not to be. That's chapter 9, and yeah, the rest of the book is just as fun. I'm very proud of it. My editor is Laura Mazuka Toops, who I met online, and she took my story, my words, and with little adjustments, just I'm very proud of this book. 5 stars on Amazon, by the way.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
If anybody wants one signed by me, we will make sure to give you that as
link.
well. Yes. Oh, I have to show you this one because I was looking for a copy. Like, I got to read this book. This one's actually signed by my dad.
Aww.
Not selling it, but
no, that's yours. That is yours. Oh, that's super awesome. Yeah, I did post in the chat the link to your Etsy where you can pick up Jackie's art as well as the book. And if you want it autographed, I think you can put notes to the seller and stuff so Jackie will get that when you place your order. I also posted the link to your YouTube channel where you read other chapters. Did you do the whole book?
I did the whole book.
Okay, yeah. So
the foreword is by Joel Hodgson.
Yes, who we love. We won't mess on Turkey Day because it was really fun. That's kind of why we're here, is because it was a success. Thank you to everybody who participated. Thank you, Jackie. So that's why we're here now. So folks, I'm going to open it up to questions. What I would like to see you guys do is maybe, raise your hand emoji or just, pop in the chat that you have a question. I'm going to allow y'all to be able to unmute yourself. I would just ask that you keep yourself muted until I call on you. I will send you a message. So if anybody wants to ask a question first, I have a, let me see, yes, I will allow you to unmute yourselves whenever you're ready. And of course, if you want to turn on your video, please do. If you have a hat, by all means. So, Jackie, I had a question regarding some upcoming projects that you have. Oh goodness, I want to say it exactly correctly. I'm going to say it wrong because I've lost my pieces of paper.
That would be me.
Yeah. Well, the Chronicles of Little Debbie. I know I'm saying that completely. That's
the Debbie Chronicles.
Thank you. Can you tell us some more about that?
Yeah, so we've been planning this for a while and working with a woman in California, Willow Polson, who already has a successful web series going. And of course, I'd screw that up if I tried to tell you what it is right now. But she approached me last year about doing a web series called The Debbie Chronicles, which is my character, Debbie, 50 something years later after I've escaped the Valley Lodge. And now I am out battling supernatural evil, and I'm working on behalf of people that need help. And it's going to be so much fun. So it looks like, well, things have been delayed, of course, because of the pandemic and all, but it's working in our favor because I have more time to prepare, and we're finding more people to be involved that are just going to make it a better project. So I'm really excited about the Debbie Chronicles.
That is very cool. Um, and so that's going to be a web series like through YouTube or like its own kind of streaming service. Do you know how we will be able to watch it once it's ready?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fine. That's okay.
I'm just Debbie.
You're just Debbie. You show up and you do your part. So of course that totally makes sense.
But I think we're going to be filming probably in Orange County in Southern California.
Okay.
Somewhere in Northern California anyway, which is cool because I have a lot of friends down there. So I'm looking forward to seeing some people.
Because you lived in that area at one time. I mean,
I
you did.
Yeah. I lived in Sonoma County outside of Santa Rosa, and I was in the wine industry for many years. Yeah, and then my faux finish business. That was like 19 years I lived down there.
Time actually, I think I was in California 19 years ago. We may have crossed paths and not even known it. You never know. Well, we have a question from Tim, TV's Tim, from New Jersey, and he would like to know, since it's Christmas time, hello, ho, 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 what are some of your favorite memories from over the years? Your Christmas time.
Christmas. Oh my gosh. Wow. I have one right now. My dad was an artist and my mother was so creative as well. She was a teacher, so she was really interested in kids, and I didn't realize how lucky I had it. So I was raised in a house 3 miles from the Mexican border, from Juarez, Mexico, in El Paso. You could actually see the Rio Grande River from our front porch. And our house had been built in the late 1800s. It was adobe, like foot and a thick wall, foot and a half thick walls. And my dad loved going out in the desert and finding things, and like he repaneled our living room. He made furniture out of old abandoned shacks out in the desert, and we actually had a indoor giant cactus, like a sequoia cactus, in our living room growing. And so we decorated that every Christmas instead of having a tree. We always did something different. But I think one of my favorites was, I was about 11. I was just at that age where you're on the edge. Do I still believe in Santa or not? And my parents pulled off some, I don't know how they did it, but my mother managed to bake some cookies without my knowledge. And they set it all up with some gifts, but they put out carrots for the reindeer, and that's what got me. Like the half-eaten cookie and the milk missing from the glass, that was good. But when they took one of those carrots and did like a little cheese grater, so there was some crumbles of it, I could have sworn that reindeer came in my house. So that, I'd say that's my best memory. Hello?
Okay, there I am. I'm back. We are back. Hello, Bart. I see you are ready to go. Please ask your question.
Hello there. Thank you for spending time with us. It's wonderful to meet you. So I loved the movie. I've enjoyed it many, many times. So thank you for talking with us. But my question is, what was your reaction to the Mystery Science Theater episode, and how did you find out that your movie had resurfaced?
Thanks, Bart. You would have thought we set this up. This is one of my favorite things to answer.
Oh, okay, great.
So for those who have not heard this story, so I grew up, even though that was a humiliating night, that premiere, just having that experience with my dad, who I adored, was great. So, but we never found it again, So all these years go by. I grew up. I would keep the stories alive, my memories, by telling my friends these stories about this thing that I did as a kid, and then it disappeared. And so as I got older through high school, and this is all pre-internet, but even and then when internet came in, I did my best to try and find it. I started in the university libraries, the film libraries, and I never found a trace of it. And so 27 years go by, and I'm living in Northern California, and I have my first son. I think he was about 3 years old then. Right now, by the way, I have 3 grandchildren from this guy. So now, so 27 years go by, 1993, my dad's living on the Oregon coast, and he calls me one Sunday afternoon, and which he rarely did. I mean, we didn't talk that often in those days. And he says, "You'll never believe what I just saw on television." So he had been watching MSTie, which he loved, Mystery Science Theater, and he watched it every Sunday on Comedy Central. And he was taking a nap in his easy chair and dozing off, and then he heard some familiar music, which was the Torgo theme. And he opened his eyes, and then he saw himself and John Reynolds on the screen, and he was just shocked. So he watched it, and he didn't call me until it was over, because he just couldn't, So he called me, says, "You'll never believe what I saw." I knew it was on Comedy Central because I'd watched MST as well. So I immediately turned on the television, and I called the 800 number that that was in the bottom corner of the screen. And you have to know, this is Sunday afternoon, and I'm on the West Coast, so this is 3 hours later. This is nighttime on the East Coast. And this guy named Matthew answers the phone, and he identifies himself as being in the HBO offices in Manhattan. And I say, "You just showed a movie I've been looking for my whole life. My whole family was involved in it. Is there any way I can get a copy?" And he says, "What was the name of it?" So I told him. And I was shaking. I mean, I couldn't believe I was this close to it. And there's this long pause, and I thought maybe he hung up on me or we got disconnected, and I'd have to get the courage to call again. And he says, "Oh my God, are you Debbie?" I was like, "What?" And so I asked, he said, "That is our favorite bad movie here in the HBO offices. I just had it on my desk last week." I said, "Can you send me a copy?" And so a week later, a bootleg VHS copy showed up in the mail, and I just saw it the other day. I still have it. And that's the story.
Thank you, Bart.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you coming. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Bart. Thanks for being here.
Stephen, I know you're around there somewhere.
I'm here.
Hey, you.
Yes, Captain.
How do I spotlight you? You know how to spotlight yourself. I'll figure.
How's it going, Jackie?
Hi. I just Dina,
Yes.
if you see somebody named Dino in there.
Yeah, he's here, or he was.
Okay, well, I'd love to say hi to him. He knew the master. I took acting classes with him, and he was my first boyfriend when I was like 14.
Oh my! Well, we got some juice then. All right. Well, hey Dino, I'm gonna.
But I want to talk to you first. Yeah.
But Steve, if you want to go and ask your question, and yeah,
That's a much better story than I had a question,
No,
Jackie.
I want to hear you. I didn't, you know.
I was just wondering about your holiday traditions. What's going on in Jackie's world this year, and how is this new normal affecting all of your traditions?
Well, I'm an artist, so there's nothing normal ever about me or my life. Except I think hopefully the new normal is that I've just decided to change my perspective this year. I'm working on changing my perspective because I know this has been a crazy tough year for like so many people. And I'm trying to look at it as from the perspective of you just got to go with it. You know, try to find the most joy. And things are challenging right now. My older son and his wife and 3 grandchildren just assumed the mortgage on my home, and I moved into the tiny house in the backyard, which needs is going to have a lot of work, but there's not much we can do in the winter, and so I'm living in this little tiny space that is also my art studio, and I'm finding out that I'm a bit claustrophobic. You know, because I have months to go. So, but I have my 3 gorgeous grandchildren 200 feet away, and I can go see them all the time. And when the little 2-year-old Banshee goes off on her, she's something, man. I can just go, love you, bye, and walk out. So anyway, I think we're gonna make a dinner tonight. We're Christmas people, but we're pretty I don't know, more earthy. I'm a hippie, you know.
Earthy Christmas. I love it.
But I made all my gifts. I have made, and then when I get off of this, my sewing machine set. I got a lot of stuff done.
So funny. There are 2 words that I say every day of my life, Jackie: perspective and community. And for you to say perspective in the middle of this misty community that we've built to make this holiday something special, to find those people in our life that can help us, we can make it through anything together.
Right.
So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, and you're right. This community of people, I couldn't be built more for this community of people than anything. I mean, in high school, I didn't know about. I mean, Mystery Science Theater didn't exist when I was in high school. But my best friend and I, and there's probably a number of people here that know about Fire Sign Theater, and they were around. You know, they were already grown ups when I started listening, and this was on LP. My best friend and I, we would sit and we would listen. I mean, we memorized just about all of those albums, and we drove everybody nuts with our little riffing, our little things, you know. So when MSTie came along, I'm like, oh, I get this. I totally get this.
I discovered Fire Sign before I discovered Mystery Science Theater as well. And I agree with you. There's something about that cadence. There's something about that style of humor, that higher level intellectual humor that brings us together.
You're cool. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're all bozos on this bus.
Temporarily Humboldt County is one of my favorites. All right, so where's Dino? Let's bring on Dino. My question. I
don't know. He has not responded. I sent him a message. I will ask him to unmute, okay. And I will ask him to share his video if he would like. Okay. Dino, can you hear me?
I can. I apologize. I'm busy cooking the 7 fishes Italian dinner. But I had a great question for Jackie. I got a phone call, so I got distracted. So I apologize. But I have a question for you. Jackie, how many times were you actually reviewed by Joan Quorum? you brought her up, and it brought back memories.
You know her,
I
right?
do.
Hi, Dino. Aw. Yeah, the main thing I remember about her is she wrote many, many articles on my dad.
Yeah.
He was, as you know, he was one of the leading actors in El Paso at that time. I mean, he did One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. He did The Prime of Miss Jean Brodie. I mean, you just name all these plays of the 60s, 50s, and 60s.
Well, talk about One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. That was the first time that I got to run lights for in my world at that moment, a professional show, and
Wow.
it was very professionally done at festival. And I was in the booth. I ran lights for that
Yeah,
show.
and that was a good play for him because he played R.P. McMurphy, and he was crazy at that time of his life. I mean, my dad was suicidal. He was dark, and he owned that role. I mean, but Joan Quorum, she loved my dad, and I think she really had a crush on him big time because she always wrote so many beautiful articles about him. Almost everything she ever wrote about, well, yeah, everything she ever wrote about him was really quite positive.
But Joan Quorum actually reviewed you in a show which you probably want to forget. Do you want me to mention it?
Yes.
Pagora the Witch.
Oh, I hardly remember that, but yeah, that was. What did she say?
With Jan Wolf, yes, as kids. So the same reviewer that reviewed Monos, or actually declined to review Monos from your reading. That same reviewer was still reviewing 20 years ago, 25 years ago. She was still reviewing shows in El Paso. And she reviewed me as an adult when I went back to El Paso into theater. But Jackie and I were actually in a show together as a result of a whole children's theater or teen theater teaching program that your father started. And it was funny, I actually just saw that article that you had posted from the Herald Post when your dad started the teen program, which Ann Wolf took over, which is how Jackie and I met when we both were not even in high school yet. And actually, Joan Quorum actually gave us a wonderful review in one of the first shows that we ever did together. That's what that brought that to mind.
That's great. Oh, so good to see you.
Great to see you, and just.
And if anybody missed that, this Dino Capone here is my very first boyfriend. I had braces.
We are so glad that you could join us today, Dino, because I've known Jackie for several years now, and see, each time that I talk with her or we do anything like this, I learn something new. I'm all about some wine. You said you're cooking, and you gotta have some wine while you're cooking.
Have to.
So thank you, Dino. Now, are you still in the Texas area, or have you moved on? I think everybody.
I'm about as far from Jackie as I can get.
Well, she's in Oregon, so.
Not on purpose. No, I'm actually on the East Coast. I'm right outside of Philadelphia.
Okay, very cool, very cool. Well, again, thank you, Dino, for stopping by. And Jackie and I have been talking about doing this kind of thing again, maybe with some other folks who were involved in the original film, as well as Manos Returns that Jackie was in. So if you're around, and I'll talk with Jackie, and maybe we can have you pop in again and pick your brain some more, because I know the fans love hearing stories about these movies. These are dear, and they're close to us. They mean a whole lot to us, and I know it means even more to you guys because hello, you were in it. So.
Well, and Hal and Tom. These were like Jackie. These were the folks that influenced us and caused some of us to go on and become part of theater. So
Exactly.
Jackie didn't have a choice, but I did, but I still stayed with it.
Well, maybe we can talk more about what you've done since then too, as well. So, again, thank you, Dino, for stopping by. Have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Bye, Dino.
Bye, Dino. Thank you. Yay.
Okay. I don't see any other questions in the chat right now. So y'all come on. Let's get some questions going. I do have one from online. Let me pull it up. His name is Danny. He's from Boise. Okay. Danny from Boise would like to know, actually, he would like to know, how well do you remember Valley Lodge? And then he put Loogie. And does it exist in or around El Paso? I will go, I'm gonna hold you, because I want to show off something real quick. I have pieces of the dirt. Here's a piece of tile from the lodge. Thank you, Steve. This is this is just some fun little vials of dirt and tiles that actually came from the movie set. A fellow fan lives in the area, and I can't remember your name. I'm very sorry, whoever you are. And he was put these out there for folks to pick up if they wanted. And I don't know. I hope, Jackie, did he send you some of these?
I have some too, and I'm thinking, is it Tony?
Maybe that's
Tony
the thing.
Combo?
First and foremost, purple packaging. Yes. No, he literally wrote Valley Lodge on the return address. So I'm like, but I just wanted to show off that. So no, please tell us tell us about the Valley Lodge, what you remember from it. Have you been back? Tell us everything.
Let's see, well, I think we went looking for it a number of years ago because I was in El Paso for the first failed sequel so some of us went to El Paso, and the house was gone, but let's see, as a kid it was a cool place. I mean, it wasn't as far away from things as you would think. It was just, I think, right near Isleta, which is just outside of El Paso. It's probably all grown over in that area pretty much by now. But Judge Colbert Coldwell, he was a judge, and Hal knew him, and he owned this old place. And the columns, from what I recall, were transported there from the old county courthouse when it was rebuilt sometime back in the 60s. I think, I don't know, people can research that to find out when the old county courthouse was taken down. But those columns, somehow the judge wanted them, and he had them transported out to this property. So it was just an interesting property all set up. And I just remember that all of the filming went on either over the weekend or at night because everybody had jobs. Well, not me, but everybody had a job. So yeah, I loved being the only kid, and I was a very observant child, and I loved to explore. So, and all the grown-ups around me were busy doing other things. So, except for pretty much the times when the wives, who were young women, were fluttering around me, and they all thought of me as a plaything or a little sister or something. So they were kind of fun, but I just loved being able to hang out and go exploring and poking into corners and things. Thinking back, it's just interesting that I was allowed so much freedom in the desert at night, right? But that's probably why I'm not afraid of spiders and snakes and things like that. I'm guessing.
Well, that's very cool. Now, and I think you touched on this last time. You were one of the only people paid for the movie, and I believe you got your payment on set. Is that correct?
Yeah, let's see. Yeah, the only two paid was well, my dog.
Yes.
You know, he got a 50-pound bag of dog food, and I got a brand new bicycle, red, with cool plastic streamers on the handles and training wheels. So that was my first bike, and that's the one I still remember the day my dad took those training wheels off and pushed me down the driveway. And I remember thinking that he was still right behind me. And then I turned around, he was gone. I was like, whoa, crash, you know.
Hey, I don't know anyone who hasn't had an experience with a bike before. So and I think that's really cool. That's a fun piece of trivia for anybody out there making a Manos trivia. Yeah, Jackie.
The master helped me.
Yeah. Well, and that you and your dog were the only two that got paid for the appearance. So Wanda, are you around? I would love for you to come in, say hello. You can unmute yourself if you would like to start a video. She has a question, but I would love for her to be able to ask it herself.
Hi, this is Brian. Actually, Wanda's over here too.
Yes.
Okay, hold on. Let me spotlight you. Thank you, Steve.
Okay. Can you hear me well? The sound hasn't been too good on this computer. Is it coming through okay? Okay. Well, let's see. My question is, can you tell us more about the wonderful sequel, Manos Returns, and where we can see it and when it'll be available on DVD?
Oh my gosh. You're asking me with my memory and everything these days, but what I will say is Dina and I talked just before we came on here and talked about doing some other events like this and how fun it would be to do a screening of Manos Returns like this and get you and get Joe and Tanya and Rachel on to answer questions as well. So
well, hey, Jackie, would you mind introducing this wonderful gentleman in case folks don't know who this is?
Well, I know him. Why doesn't everybody else?
Well, you know.
I just spoke of him in the chapter that I read. He's Brian Jennings, and he was away at college when the premiere was going on. So that's the only reason he wasn't humiliated like the rest of us.
Yeah.
Premiere. But we met, and then he is the sheriff in Manos Returns in our film, and his father played the original sheriff in Manos, The Hands of Fate.
Yeah, well, whatever it is you're not doing, go do it somewhere else.
And this is his beautiful wife, Wanda. These are the funnest people to have around. I wish we lived closer. I'd go play with you.
Oh, my second question was, I hear that somebody tried to film a sequel in El Paso 9 years ago this month. Whatever happened to that? I think they were searching for the Valley Loogie at that time.
Yeah, I don't know. That's just something I kind of want to forget about. Except for, the best part, it was really great because we got to get together. We got to hang out together. There were so many great things about that. We met Jay Lee, and, we just met some amazing people that we remained friends with, and for that I'm forever grateful. And the opportunity to go back and see El Paso and visit.
Yeah, well, that was the first time I met you in person. I'd seen you,
wasn't it?
I'd seen you numerous times as a 7-year-old girl. But yeah, that was fun. I really enjoyed being there and doing that. I wish that more could have come of that, and that perhaps the director could have settled himself down a little. But anyway, that's water under the bridge.
Yeah, yeah. But I am grateful for it, and I wish more could have. But hey, Monosi. But see, because of that, this, you
Yeah.
know, our next film, Monos Returns, we were able to do that. So
Yeah. Well, the Manos has a life of its own, and it's amazing how one thing leads to another, and it just stays alive. It's alive,
it
and
is.
it
I
keeps.
mean, every time it goes like this, and then things settled out, and over the years since 1993, these things happen, and I get to go travel somewhere, meet
Yeah.
people, and then it settles down, and I'm like, well, that was fun. That was great. I'm always satisfied. I'm always happy. And then it comes back again. It just keeps repeating on itself, and it gets bigger. Like it's interesting.
Well, have you heard how the guys that are trying to do the new updated Manos are coming along? Are they still working on it, or has
I'm
has
not sure.
the
I'm not sure what project.
well, there have been more than one attempt, but there were you were in contact with some people.
Oh, for the Debbie Chronicles.
No, not Debbie Chronicles. It was a redo of the original Manos, or they were trying to update it and make it better. Or
The remaster, taking it
Oh, the
taking the film and updating it for better viewing quality.
no, that Ben Soloway did that with
Right.
help from a lot of us, but no, there were some guys. I think they were in El Paso or Southern California somewhere. They had a trailer. They shot a trailer of it,
Oh.
but they never got into actual production of it. To the last I'd heard. So
I don't know. I never heard anything past that either. I don't know. See, there's so many things. It's like, it's crazy. Well, of course, Mono's Hands of Felt, Puppet Theater.
yes, there's that. There's just so much Manos on YouTube and Amazon. You can just have Manos 24/7 if you want it.
If you wanted. I'm not sure I want that.
Well, you mean tomorrow for Christmas Day we can't watch Manos just instead of A Christmas Story like TBS does every year?
Oh,
We can do 24 hours of Manos.
Hey,
oh.
hey, Die Hard is a Christmas story. Why can't we make Manos into a Christmas story somehow?
I agree. I completely agree. Well, yeah. So thank you guys for tuning in and for being here. And yeah, I'll talk with Jackie and see if we can do future things like this. You know, a screening of the movie, screening of again the sequel, and all the fun stuff that Jackie and you guys have been up to since the original Manos.
Yeah. Okay.
So, thank you very much. We appreciate you guys. Bye. Hey Brent, are you around? Brent, you should, if you can, unmute yourself. Oh, there you are. Hello. You can start video or not. You don't have to. But if you got one, turn it on, and so we can see your handsome face. I'm saying your name. Yes, I would actually. Brent is super cool. Oh, while we wait for. Where is he? There he is. Oh, perfect. Thank you, Steve. Before you ask your question, Brent, can I show off something you gave to me? Oh, one of the many amazing things Brent has given to me. This one just happens to be on the mantle.
It could be anything at this point, couldn't it?
It could be. Y'all seen my mantle. Hell, you've seen this. So.
Bowl of oatmeal.
Aww.
So So it's this cute little light up TV thing, and he put this.
Oh, that is so great.
I mean, can you see that? Again, one of the many cool things that Brent has sent me over the years. This one, like I said, gets to hang out on the mantle.
That's why I could start my podcast again, and I could set it up and do my podcast through that.
Exactly. We'll put Jackie right through here. All right. I'm gonna remove myself. Please, Brent, go ahead.
Uh-oh, I can't hear him.
Got no sound from you, Brent.
Oh, there you go. No?
Nope. Do you know sign language?
No.
You have headphones plugged in? Something.
I'm over here talking with myself muted. No, Brent. Nope.
Nope. Oh, I'm sure it was a great question.
I'm sure it really was. Actually, he did put it in the chat. I have the question. Brent, I want you to ask, but here, how about if I ask the question and you mouth it like we're lip syncing, okay? Here we go. Did you get to keep any props from the filming of any of the projects you have been a part of? I joined late in case you didn't already talk about it.
Yeah. Well, nothing from the original film. I mean, you know, my dad made, he not only was the master, but he created the sets and the props. My mother made the costumes. And Hal went home with the master's robe and the dog and master painting. So we didn't get those, which were the main ones. But some of his other hand art was in there. Just 1 second. Let's see. I think it's right there. Just 1 second.
Oh, I'm totally going to turn on my camera and go get something off camera next because it's a theme now.
Okay.
I encourage everyone. Hey, if you got something to show and tell, please do. We have no problem with that around here.
She went left and then she went right. She's faking out whatever she's going to get. It must be a mink.
Ooh. Well, speaking of, she's back. I'm gonna be quiet now.
So, you know, my dad was an artist, and I didn't get any of the sculptures, or I didn't really get much of his stuff. Later in life, after he was done doing sculpture, he was doing some jewelry, so I have a couple pieces of jewelry that he made, but I do have this. And this was not in Monos, but it's an example of a piece of his work.
Very nice.
Isn't that nice? But yeah, in Monos Returns, I really did everything that my dad did in the original film, and a lot more, because cast and crew had to travel from around the country, and I had a lot of people like camping out, and I was feeding people. I mean, I was in the movie, was writing scripts, and I was created all the sets. I did the artwork, so I did my version of the master and dog painting. So I got to keep all of those things. The master's robe that I made for my dad to wear in Monos Returns. And yeah, I guess a lot of projects I'm more involved in than just the acting, and the things that I create, I keep. I mean, I have most all the props from Monos Returns. They're just in a big, huge tub. I don't know what to do with them, but that's really weird.
Keep them for posterity, that's for sure. Thanks, Brett, for voicing, for being the puppet for Dina voicing. That was wonderful. Well done. So, Jackie, now that you have grandchildren of your own and you've got this history with this film, do you suggest that people bring their children to work with them on a movie set like this? Is this something that you would like to see your grandchildren involved in, something like Manos?
My grandkids would totally get it. I mean, I think when a kid is raised with creative people, then they just have a different, like, okay, so like I said, we live 3 miles from the border, Juarez, Mexico. And we were the only white family in my neighborhood. And my dad was not only an actor, but he was an artist. We were very different. But that's where all my friends were. I mean, I went to the local public school, and I was one of the very few non-Mexican kids in that school. And and I was an oddity in so many ways, because my dad was not only an artist, but he did huge paintings, you know, like 5 by 6 foot paintings. And they were almost all nudes. That's what he painted. He did hands and he did nudes. And so kids would make friends with me just so they could get into the house to see what we had. So that's what I grew up with. And then that's how I learned to read. My mother was a teacher. So reading was very important. We had a whole room that was a library. We had like 3,000 books in one room. And my dad was always working on a script. So from the time, probably from even first or second grade, even when I wasn't very, very good at it, he would have me help him run lines. So it was just our life. My dad was always, he had a little rock house studio in the backyard. It was all made of rocks. That was his studio. He had his welding equipment, and my favorite place was to sit on a stool and just hang out, watch him work or help him run lines. So yeah, I've been different my whole life.
So are you passing that on to your grandkids then? Are you
Yeah.
promoting their artistry?
Yeah, my older son, well, and my daughter-in-law, they're just such cool people. And my older son, he's such a gentle, large man, and he's so gentle, but he's sarcastic as hell. And the kids totally get it. So they're 11, 7. Jace just turned 7, and then the baby girl who's 2. And I'm telling you, all of them, they're all made for the stage. I mean, they are dramatic.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, but they, I don't know, you can just be pretty real with them, and they get it. They're cool.
That's phenomenal.
That is super cool that the like you said, the artistry continues through the generations. And like you mentioned, things may not be perfect right now as far as your living situation, but you are so close to your grandbaby, you're so close to your family. And I know many of us, especially during this Christmas time, we don't have that luxury. My plan was to go to Oklahoma and see my family and friends, but it's not worth that. We can just Zoom just like we do here. Jackie, thank you so much for doing this. As always, you and I will continue to talk and do more things for the fans. Thank you guys for tuning in. We have more stuff coming up. 6 o'clock, we'll be talking with Samantha Coister, who is the costume designer for MST3K season 11 and 12. So I'm super excited to pick her brain about costume design. Jackie, maybe, oh wait, you said you've got some plans happening. Well, you just mentioned dinner. Can I come over? Oh wait, no. Social distancing. Another time after a while. And yeah, like like has been mentioned throughout the weeks, Manos has a life. It's its own entity, and it keeps coming back. And hopefully we will make sure that we can get something digital like this again and screen. Maybe we make a triple play. We screen the original, we screen the sequel. You were also a part of the Rise of Torgo, which was the prequel, right?
Yes, yeah, that's right, David Roy. Yeah.
So maybe we can reach out to him and the same thing.
I would love that.
This would be, so, maybe we may be stuck at home, but it also is giving us time to reconnect in a different way. And so that's great. Thank you, Jackie. I'll be in touch soon. And folks, we'll be back up and running prior to 6. I will actually, it's 12. Well, I don't know what time it was on the East Coast. It's 12:30 in Colorado. I was thinking I'd show some Christmas riffs. So I'll open up the room, let everybody in. We're going to go and end this one though, so I can, convert the recording. So thank you, Jackie. As always,
so much.
We love you. And Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. The master is with us always.
Always. Bye, y'all. Everybody, stopping recording, and ending here. Okay.